welcome to everybody joining us today. I see some familiar faces from the last session. Just by means of a quick introduction, my name is Freda Sylvester, and I'm a program manager within the Teams product group. I sit within a small subset of product that works directly with our customers on all things Teams, and a big focus of that being Teams platform. So how you can really leverage all of the core collaboration functionalities that we provide in Teams and extend other experiences that are critical to your workforce directly in our UI. I'm going to take over sharing. Hopefully this works this time. Last time we had some issues. Let's see. All right. Looks like I cannot. Let's see. Let me try this again. Okay, Brianna, I think you're going to have to drive. Let me. All right. If you don't mind advancing to the next slide, that'd be awesome. Great. Okay, so we talked about a little bit about this last time, but for the new folks that are joining, we really see a tremendous opportunity with Teams to help transform the way in which our employees do their work and the way in which you engage directly with your customers and partners. We'll talk about some key themes in which we think leveraging Teams platform can help you, and you're going to see some incredible demos today. We've got Chris here, we've also got Matthew, and I'm super excited of what they're going to share, along with some information that I'll be showing you just a little bit later on. But thinking about new ways of bringing people together to communicate and collaborate. Obviously, everybody's used to chat and to meetings, but we think that there's a tremendous opportunity leveraging Teams to bring people together to do structured group work and really get their job done. Thinking of ways that you can transform the employee culture. How do you attract and retain talent? This is another area where we think that there's tons of opportunity to leverage our capabilities and existing investments that you have within your organization. Obviously, for retail especially, schedule and cover management is super important, and being able to manage shifts and manage schedules and do that really easily, both from a schedule owner down to a shift worker perspective. And there's tons of opportunity as well leveraging Teams to be able to transform that experience. Obviously, training, onboarding new people into the environment. How do we create a culture of learning? How can you take all of the great IP and information that your organization has put together and then share that broadly so that people can acquire and share new skills that they're learning? Productivity and process. How do you take the workflow that's unique to your organization and look at digitizing it and transforming that? And doing all of this through a singular UI, right? Get to one app in order to access not just the people and the content, but the applications and tools that you need as well. And then that really leads us into this idea of a connected tech ecosystem. And with that, we're just going to shift to the next slide. And this all comes together in Teams, and we really look at the opportunity with Teams to create a tailored digital workspace. I think this is actually going to flow really nicely into what Chris is going to show you right after this. But we provide you a series of puzzle pieces, right, out of the box with Teams. So you get the ability to chat, to manage a schedule, to share files. We add on that with some other functionality like shift management and a shift functionality, tasks, approvals. All of that is provided to you with Teams. If you can flip to the next slide, Brianna. Then you can add the broader Microsoft ecosystem. So everything that we provide from Office 365, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft Forms, Viva, which you'll hear a little bit about as well too. All of that is available for users to access through the Teams ecosystem. And then building on that with our third-party app catalog. At this point, we have over 1,500 different applications that are available to organizations to leverage within Teams. And these include so many of the critical tools and technologies that we know so many of our customers use in order to power their day-to-day. And those can be available to your users in Teams. And then where I get the most excited is in this idea of custom apps and where you can build your own bespoke DNA into the Teams experience. And so we have an entire developer platform that's geared towards all types of development efforts, from citizen-led development all the way up to pro dev, where you can really build custom experiences both for your employees and also for your customers leveraging our platform capabilities. I think with that, I'm going to hand it off to Chris to talk a little bit more about ways in which you can leverage the platform. And so over to you, Chris.
Thanks so much, Frida. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Lahamadou. I'm a Microsoft 365 technical specialist in the retail vertical. I cover a number of customers, and I also see some familiar names, so great to have you all join. I'm going to go ahead and share screen and showcase some of the experiences that I'm having with customers, conversations around a lot of different ways that you can bring forward a lot of these different experiences into teams and build out a very focused experience, to connect your frontline employees with the things that matter to them. I'm holding an Android device in my hand, and that's the screen that you see right now. Although this experience does work fine on iOS, the great part about this is Teams. So largely speaking, the endpoint that you're coming from really doesn't matter, right? I have an amazing experience wherever I am. I'm going to start off hopping into Teams, and in the way I'm configured in my environment, I'm taken immediately into Viva Connections. So when we think about connections, it's that way of being able to build a branded portal experience that connects the organization with news and apps and services and resources in a very personalized and tailored way that helps me connect with the organization, connect with the things that I care about, stay connected with what the organization is focusing on, and really helps me with a lot of that connective tissue across the landscape of my organization. Now, I want to just start off by saying that what I like to talk about is really art of the possible, right? So I'm going to showcase a number of different types of experiences, a number of which Frida covered over on, but just know that this experience can be tailored to include as much or as little as you want for your organization, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be, sort of a busy sea of icons. You can be very focused and intentional with how you build the experience out. I just like to talk about a lot of things, and I get pretty excited about it. So much like I would start my day as a frontline employee, I'm going to start my demo focusing on my time and attendance, right? Which is shifts, which is this icon here. And shifts is really amazing because it gives the person facilitating or building out the shift experience a way to be able to communicate with those people that are on shift. When I look in the details for the shift that I'm technically a little late for right now, I get a lot of different experiences here. I'm able to see what are the notes, the things that I need to focus on for the day or for my particular shift. So I'm informed. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I see my activities for the day and the particular shift I'm assigned to. What's also great for me is I can see who I'm working with, right? So I can see who's with me on shift and be able to connect with those folks or even engage in conversation with them. And then because Shifts is here right on that dashboard, easy for me to connect into and engage, I'm also empowered to do things like the ability to swap my shift with another team member or to be able to offer my shift up. So I'm empowered as a frontline worker to not only to see what is important for my day, but also the ability to be able to manage my time and attendance from within this experience. It just makes it really easy, right? And that's what we want. Now, as I move through the set of capabilities here on my dashboard, one of the things that I hear from a lot of customers that I'm working with is that their frontline employees feel disconnected. They don't feel like they know what's top of mind for the organization. And so there's lots of ways that you can help deliver that capability from this dashboard experience. And as we go through here, I want you to think about a lot of the business scenarios that I'm going to touch on and how I'm just doing all of this right from within the dashboard. This top card here of top news lets me see news that's important in the organization. This is SharePoint news and Viva Connections that's been boosted, right? It's things that are important to the organization, and this news can also be audience targeted. So it may very well be that I see news and information that's targeted to me based on my role, my function within the organization. It's more relevant. So not only am I seeing what's important to the organization, but I'm also seeing things that are really intended to me, a really critical way to be able to ensure that people can stay connected. Now, if I'm a new hire at Condoso, we want to make it very easy for people to be able to get up to speed and to engage. And so to be able to connect my frontline employees with a series of onboarding steps, right? Here's sort of an art of the possible in this dashboard card that gives me a set of things that I might want to be able to do. Connect with communities in Yammer, soon to be Viva Engage, right? Update my profile so people know a little bit more about me, or to be able to, click through a number of different resources. helping your frontline employees onboard quickly, connecting them with the right sets of resources and information and steps to be able to plug into the organization. It's super important, right? In many instances, frontline employees have a higher turnover. So we want to make sure they can get up to speed as quickly as possible within the organization and stay very, very effective in what they're doing. Now, speaking of staying effective, we want to make sure that everybody knows what's top of mind for them. And this is where the integrated tasks capability in Teams is amazing, right? This assigned task card now in the upper left of my dashboard helps me see the things that I need to focus on, the things that are assigned to me through maybe a programmatic system, through my manager or team lead, things that I need to work on. You saw that the spring sale in my notes was something that I needed to. So this tasks helps me see those things that are important and urgent. I see when it's due, I see a relative priority, and then right from here, I can track how I'm working on this. So if I wanted to dig into this work, I can say, yep, I'm going to take some time and get some things going here. Maybe I'm going to go through and take a look and knock out what I need to do for the front entry display. You can see we can make planograms available here. I can add in additional comments. So I'm empowered from here to be able to see not only what's important, but be able to take action on these things, mark status due as I'm going, and this is automatically saved back for everybody on the team to see. So being able to focus on those things that are important to me, really, really critical in what I'm doing. Again, in thinking about integrating in these right sets of experiences here, really important to connect everybody and certainly frontline employees with the ability to learn and upskill, right? Whether it's I'm coming into the organization net new, whether I'm learning and developing new skills, access to learning and training resources in the flow of work makes me feel more valued. It makes me feel like I have an opportunity to grow within the organization. And so here in the top right, I've got my access to Viva Learning right here from the dashboard, right? Where I can see courses that are maybe featured across the organization. Here's a number of retail specific courses that I can engage in and get better and make sure that I'm doing the right sets of things that I need to do. I could browse through courses based on areas of interest that I have that I can define. I can also go to the My Learning tab here and see courses that I've bookmarked or maybe courses that have been recommended to me. And the great part about Viva Learning is it can connect to lots of different learning platforms and capabilities. And as a learner, I don't care what those are or where they are. Viva Learning just brings them to me right here, very easy from the dashboard and within Teams. And it makes it very easy for me to take those learning courses, develop skills, onboard into the organization or to the new team, and become that much more effective, right? So really deeply integrating learning into my experience. And for frontline workers, being able to do this right at their fingertips on the go, super important. Now, I may be upskilling and I may be doing all of my things and I may need to learn some things, but we also want to make sure that we can help employees get help, right? And they may ask colleagues in their same location, their store, their restaurant, their plant, whatever those things are. But I might need some additional help. And one of the ways that we can provide that additional assistance is by layering in bots and bot technology right here into the dashboard. This Ask HR bot, it's a sample bot that I've added in here that's kind of more HR specific. Under the hood, it's a Power Virtual Agent that I've built up that allows me to have a conversational experience. I can ask the bot and let it know. It say, I need some help with time off, right? I need to figure out what the rules of the road are on this. And then the bot can then respond here in line and help me get questions to answers at scale without having to ask someone. This could be something simple like HR information, like I'd like to know, what the national holidays are for my particular organization, right? I quickly have this information presented in line here, and then I can give the bot some feedback and help tune the experience to let it know how it's going. These bots can also be tailored to surface of things like being able to connect to experts in particular products in a retail store scenario. Or if I'm in a restaurant and I want to know how to make that new seasonal menu item. Or if I'm in a plant, if I need to look up how to maintain a piece of equipment in a factory line, etc. The ability to pull in and give people a conversational way at scale to be able to get answers to questions, super, super powerful, right? I think that is a 5 out of 5 capability, really a kind of thing that we want to do. And it's right here in the dashboard. I don't have to leave the experience. It's right here I want to engage. When I think about employees and making sure that they are heard, right? Really important that we make sure people have a voice. And so the ability to create and publish surveys, whether it's something as simple and easy as a Microsoft form, or whether we think about future upcoming capabilities like Viva Pulse, and being able to lay those experiences in here. Giving your frontline workers a voice, the ability for them to be able to share what is working, be able to provide some feedback, help you as an organization know where there may be room for improvement. Again, really important to be able to see this experience right here within the dashboard, right? Simple and easy, and these adaptive cards really easy to be able to publish out to the organization. Now, Frida talked a lot about extensibility, right? So how can we take and present your employees and your frontline workers with more modern approaches to processes that historically may have been something that's a little bit more analog, right? Where maybe I have to do something like a store walk, I have to take an inventory check, if you will, I need to do a kitchen inspection, a safety walk, those sorts of things. For a lot of organizations, those processes are heavily rooted in paper. And so with paper comes a lot of challenge, right? The challenge around what do I do with the information that I get from that paper process? Do I have to key that in someplace? How do we know what the value is from that inspection? So how do I do reporting off of those processes? How do I know I'm going through the right process? Maybe the process has been revised and I have an old version of the paper. So digitizing these processes and building that out is super important. And so right here from this adaptive card, I can invoke the Inspections app, which is an app in Teams that showcases this extensibility of being able to pull forward apps built off of the Power Platform, much like a Power Virtual Agent is. And so here I'm taken to a personalized experience, which is great. I see that I've done some walks. I have some tasks. I haven't done one in a little bit, but when I do, I tend to do them pretty quickly. And what's great about this is this Inspections app can be customized to take into account the steps that you have for your organization, to speak to your employees in their language, their vernacular. Maybe it is an inspection, maybe it's a walk, maybe it's an inventory, whatever that process is. But very simply and easily, I can customize these forms in these different locations to give people choices, right? Well, what do you want to do? How do you want to walk through? What part of the process or the location do you want to be able to engage in? Maybe, for example, I work in a retailer that has a frozen food section, and I want to be able to walk through that frozen food section and see how things are going. All right, so I have this nice digitized process. Maybe it's early in the morning, which it is here in certain parts of the country. I want to do a quick little morning walk. And because this is digital, there's a lot of great things that come from this. First of all, I can present people with a set of steps. I can give them images to know what they should expect so as they go through their walk. And as I go ahead and step through my walk here, you can see we have a great way to be able to present people. Here's what you should be doing as you go through it. Here's what their steps should be. The kinds of things that you should expect to find. Hey, everything should be clean and hygienic. Yep, that's great. Hey, the item and the area should be clutter-free. Well, maybe I see an issue here, right? Normally on a piece of paper, that's a little bit of a checkbox. But because I'm on a phone, I'm on a mobile device, now I can leverage the capabilities of that platform to do things like take a photo. And maybe I want to necessarily take a photo here. Maybe I've got a picture already and I see, hey, in my particular environment, I see that there's a piece of something that doesn't belong in the frozen food section. Well, what's great about this now is again, not only have I pulled some evidence in that I can showcase what the problem is, I can actually mark this up as well too. And I could say, the problem is right here, right? This is the thing we need to fix. And when I do this, I take and I attach that photo right into the process, right? I could even add notes in, or I could create a task that gets assigned to someone as part of the process to be able to build this experience out. When I'm done, I can go ahead and review the store walk and make sure it's what I want. And again, it's fantastic because I get this nice visual treatment here to let me know that I've completed all the steps. I can see that some things look good, but I also see that there's a problem, that there was an issue that was noted. And being able to digitize this, when I hit submit in the walk,
What's great about this is on the backside, the Power App that I walk through to be able to go through my steps helps me capture the data. But behind the scenes, there's a workflow, a Power Automate workflow that's doing a couple of things. It would create any tasks that were assigned. It also notifies the managers in my particular store that a walk has been completed. And they have a dashboard where they can see all of the different walks that have been completed and analyze what needs to happen, if there's additional steps or changes that need to be made. It's just a great, easy way to be able to put some structure around this overall experience. So the inspections app template in Teams, just one way to be able to manage this and be able to extend this, but lots of other options exist to help you tailor the experience right within the context of Teams to be able to solve whatever your specific business challenges are for your particular locations. So the ability to do other things, the digitized processes through an inspections process, super critical, right? Also, every person in an organization wants to feel appreciated, right? They want to feel recognized. They want to know that their work matters. What better way to be able to do that than to be able to fully integrate right into the context of this, the ability to send praise, to be able to recognize colleagues. So if I have someone that I'm working with, say, for example, my demo colleague, Donna here, I can go ahead and recognize her if I wanted to share that with her manager, right? So that they also know what's happening here as part of this process. And I can, put whatever the sentiment is on maybe her being a team player. I'm going to, save you from watching me do a bunch of errant typing. But again, the ability to be able to recognize people, personalize this experience, drives a culture of positive reinforcement, of recognition. People, again, love this idea of knowing that, hey, I'm appreciated. The things that I do are important to the organization. They're critical, and the ability to be able to infuse recognition and culture building right into the dashboard and Viva Connections, super powerful, right? If you haven't praised someone today, strongly recommend you take some time in Teams and recognize a colleague or someone that you've worked with recently. I promise you it'll do wonders for them, but also for you. Again, from an extensibility standpoint, being able to tie in and bring in the right sets of experiences, there are a number of different things that we see customers doing, and also some things that we do at Microsoft. The ability to tie into other line of business applications. In this case, I'm surfacing some information right here in the quick view of an adaptive card. A very easy way for me to be able to tie into other line of business systems. Great way to be able to, again, surface up whatever that information is. In this case, I'm thinking about, surface sales data, but it could be a lot of different types of things, tying in inventory or whatever those platforms are. The ability to integrate in with your line of business systems and really pull forward the experiences that matter at a glance. Again, super powerful. How do we make frontline workers effective, right? And make it very easy for them to do the things they need to do. We at Microsoft and other customers I know also like to provide access to payroll information. As an employee at Microsoft, if I want to see what my latest payroll information is, I open up Teams, I go to Viva Connections, and my payroll is right here available. We have an integration that ties into our time and attendance system. I don't have to log in. I'm automatically single signed on in, and I get to see my payroll information, or can go back in time and see prior payroll. But again, thinking about connecting your frontline employees with information or resources or capabilities that matter to them, right? Pay is top of mind for everybody. And so this idea of extensibility and to be able to pull in different sets of experiences is super powerful and super important. Now, Teams is amazing experience to be able to bring together those folks where you have a thing that you're trying to work towards, you have a unit of organization, we report to the same manager, we work in the same location, we're working on the same cross-functional initiative, we're helping to organize calls like this one for customers. Teams is that great working unit to be able to connect with people. But when you want to be able to provide a way for employees to be able to come together across the broader organization, this is where the community's experiences powered by Yammer, soon to be Viva Engage, really comes into play. So organizations, and nearly every organization I'm talking to is seeing the value in having both of these types of experiences. a place where I can go to be able to have conversations that are maybe more broad reaching, where I can find and connect with people that are in a similar role within my organization, peers, people that are maybe mapped to specific skills that I can tie into. Viva Engage is that way for me to be able to connect into those communities right in the context of teams. And so I have a feed here, or I have the ability to pivot into communities of things that I care about. And those communities could be those that are defined to people in my specific role, right? Like say a community of all of my fellow store associates, where we can come together, ask questions. Here I can see my colleague Josh has been seeing some problems with some Samsung devices in store they sell. Seems kind of interesting, but he can then now, instead of asking only people within his specific organization, or in a specific location rather, he could periscope up across all the store associates and say, hey, are we seeing this as a common problem? It's a really fantastic way to be able to, again, connect people across that physical divide, allow them to come together, ask questions, share best practices of how they're doing things, like how is everybody doing setting up that spring sale setup, if you will. Let's share some best practices. What's really resonating and working in my particular store, and if I have a plant location, how are we keeping each other safe in our plants? Those kinds of things. Viva Engage really provides that fantastic way to come together for people within role. I might have communities that connect me to new employees as I'm onboarding to the organization. Again, super important for your frontline workers to be able to come on board and get up to speed, and connecting them to a set of resources to be able to get up to speed and Viva Engage is amazing. Or maybe I want to have communities that connect me with really important things for the organization, like diversity and inclusivity, or people that are similar types of non-work situations, interests. That digital water cooler that helps me build connections more broadly across the organization. It's also a fantastic way for leaders to be able to engage across the organization, and whether that's asynchronously through communications and conversations and announcements, or whether it's something more like a real-time event through like a town hall that can be delivered real-time voice and video, or something that I may be able to consume afterwards as a playback. Being able to bring that rich communities experience right into the flow of what I'm doing in my dashboard, super important. We also want to connect my employees with other types of resources, right? So for example, for us at Microsoft in October is when we have our corporate giving campaign, and we want to make sure that everybody, our organizational giving campaign, so we want to make sure everybody has access to those resources. That's fantastic. Quickly build out an adaptive card that connects you to those corporate resources and publish it during the duration that you're having this event. Connecting people with these types of resources to help them stay engaged with what's going on and stay connected with the mission of the organization, as we do very often at Microsoft. These kinds of things are top of mind, and we want to make it really easy for people to connect to those resources, whatever they are, giving campaign or otherwise. I know a lot of organizations that are very focused in helping to bring forward experiences to help people know at a glance, what's happening for my week. So maybe a store manager might need to surface up some kind of a view that lets me know, okay, how are my employees doing for this week or month? What's going on? What reporting I need to do? The ability to quickly surface calendar information at a glance through an integration into the calendaring API, super important. Frida also talked about the integrations, those third-party integrations that we have. So partners like ServiceNow and others provide integrations into their platforms as well too. So if you have systems that are not Microsoft, that are third-party, that you want to be able to bring into this experience as well, very easy to do. Again, a lot of these partners have their own adaptive cards to be able to tie you into the experience, or you have the ability to create your own and tie into those through API. And then lastly, from just a Teams native perspective here, a couple of things that, again, I know are top of mind. Layering in the ability to tie into the updates capability in Teams. So maybe, for example, I want to be able to provide a shift handoff as I'm moving from shift to shift, or if I need to put in a maintenance request or an incident report. Teams has a great out-of-the-box capability for you to be able to quickly stitch together these updates, these experiences, and really connect people with the things that they care about, making sure that you're having that nice transition from to shift, if you will. And you can have those things that you can either submit proactively, or you can have scheduled handoffs as well too. So depending on what you're doing, I see there's a scheduled shift handoff that's been assigned by a manager at a plant that I work at as well too. So a great way for me to be able to see all these experiences, or to be able to see progress of specific reviews, things that I have going on here. Bringing this experience right into the dashboard, super powerful. Or if I need to request for something, I need to approve a customer discount, I need to approve a maintenance request, if you will. The ability to be able to create approvals right here from this dashboard, also really critical as well. And whether those approvals are, that come into me, or I get a request to approve something, or the ability for me to create approvals right from within here. We have out-of-the-box basic requests that you can leverage from this experience, or you can build your own templates that you can scope to your store or make broadly available across your organization. And oh, by the way, if you happen to need e-signature capabilities tied into those approvals, Microsoft plays well with others, right? We have integrations with those third-party partners like Adobe Sign and DocuSign. So if I need to attach formal electronic signature capabilities into my approvals, just know that those integrations are here as well too. So in thinking about making it very quick and easy for me to request or approve things, to be able to provide updates, to integrate with line of business systems, or to know what's top of mind for my team, to tie into corporate resources or connect more broadly within the organization, right? To be able to see the apps and services that are top of mind for me, like pay or inventory information. To drive cultural change by integrating praise, digitizing manual processes, capturing employee feedback, getting answers at scale through bots and like Power Virtual Agents, helping to learn and upskill, knowing the tasks that are important to me, helping to streamline onboarding, being able to manage my time and attendance or see what's top of mind for news. I have all these capabilities at my fingertips, and I've not left the dashboard. Right? So powerful in thinking about what this means, being able to build that tailored experience for your organization, and knowing that the dashboard for a frontline worker may be different than a store manager, which may be different than a corporate employee, right? This singular experience connects me to the things that I care about. Now, as I move off the dashboard and I go over into the feed, here's another way for me to quickly, as a frontline employee, catch up on the things that are important. Here's some of that boosted news that's in that top news card, but I could also see articles across the organization or conversations in the communities. Here's a newer Viva Engage feature called Storyline and Stories, where our CEO, Patty, is sharing what's top of mind for the organization on her storyline, and I can engage in this and react into this real time, or maybe bookmark and save this for later so I know what's top of mind for our leaders. I have all of this front and center, and I have the ability to quickly and easily triage that information right here on the feed within Connections. And then lastly, the Resources tab connects me into those corporate resources that are important, right? And again, these things can be made broadly available to the organization, or they can be targeted so people see the right resources for their role based on what they're looking to do. So Viva Connections provides a super powerful way to be able to come together and to work on the things that matter. And you can see across the bottom, I have a number of other different apps and services. And it's important to note that we are in teams after all. So as frontline workers, yes, I have an amazing experience being able to connect to these different apps and services, but Teams also has a really, really rich communications infrastructure behind it as well too. So I also have the ability to do things like tie into Walkie-Talkie. So if I wanted to reach out to ask a question about some inventory information for my colleague Donna, maybe she has a device like I'm holding in my other hand here that's a Zebra device that has native push-to-talk capabilities. Here I have the ability to, again, right within Teams, leverage push-to-talk and ask questions. And anybody that's in this channel anywhere can engage and participate in this. So it's not walkie-talkie limited by radio distance. It's communications that helps connect the right set of people, finding expertise, getting questions answered. Is this thing available into the back that the customer I'm standing with is asking for? These kinds of things. Super powerful calling experiences, all of that as well. And at the end of the day, I also have my native Teams experiences as well too to connect me to however I'm organizing my information. within my particular unit of work, location, etc. So hopefully you saw a number of really fantastic experiences here that help you kind of connect the frontline employee experience, all native and backboned into Teams. I guess I'm going to pause and see, are there any questions in the chat that I can help answer? If not, I will go ahead and hand over to Frida to go ahead and kick into the next section.
Thanks so much, Chris. That was awesome. And what a great example of leveraging our platform, sort of fronted by Viva Connections as that dashboard or central dashboard experience for users. I am actually just going to present the deck, and then I'll switch over to a demo too. But just building on what Chris showed, I want to talk a little bit more about our platform capabilities and talk about how you can leverage ready-to-use applications that are both Microsoft provided and third-party provided, along with bespoke experiences, line of business or custom applications that you use to that you use in your day-to-day business. So just a bit of a recap when we think of platform. I actually like to think of this like a layer cake. And at the bottom of the layer cake, obviously, is the Office 365 Microsoft ecosystem. So all of the experiences that we use day-to-day with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft Forms, some of the experiences that Chris showed you with approvals and updates, shifts, sort of all that out of the box functionality that we provide is obviously available to users to be able to leverage in Teams. And then building on that with our third-party app ecosystem. And like we mentioned, there's over 1,500 applications that are currently available today. And these can be used in lots of different ways, both from a personal interaction experience, which we'll talk a little bit more about in Teams, and from a collaborative perspective. And then building on that, and this is, again, I think where things are most exciting, is thinking of like organizational based and vertical solutions, right, that are specific to how you provide goods and services in your particular industry. Organizational based, right? Chris showed you a lot of ways that you can potentially leverage Teams to support things like new hire onboarding scenarios and learning and development, approval workflows. So taking those, you know, what for many are manual and analog processes and digitizing them into a single pane of glass. And then we didn't necessarily show you a ton here, but Chris did have some good examples of vertical specific experiences. In retail, you know, there's a number of case studies that we've put out and examples with retailers where they're leveraging Teams to do things like engage directly with their customers. If you think of workflow like buy online, pick up in store, there are retailers today, and we showed a good example of this in the last session, where you can leverage platform capabilities to support those types of workflows. If you're doing anything with virtual visits, right, or virtual appointments, right, imagine allowing your customer to set up time with somebody in your customer service or sales team in order to evaluate a purchase or learn more about a particular product, and then even complete that purchase, where your employee is coming in on Teams, your end user can even come in through your, you know, external facing website or application, and they meet in the middle. These are all the capabilities that are really available to you by nature of using Teams and leveraging our platform capabilities. For Teams, right, I think the secret sauce here is that we can layer in collaboration into the experience. And so some of just kind of best practices for things that we want you to think about as you evaluate scenarios where leveraging Teams platform can make sense is, how can we bring people together? So how can we encourage people to move away from silos and do things out loud, work out loud in a group? I love how Chris showed you the team experience in his demo. So, you know, obviously Viva Connections allows an individual in Teams to access information that's important to them, and chat and Teams and channels and meetings is a way in a collaborative space for you to come together to get your work done. I think one of the unique opportunities that we have in Teams is through a singular app, just getting into Teams, an individual can seamlessly move between the me work, things that are important to them as an individual, and we work, things that you do in conjunction and collaboration with others. Let's talk a little bit about how you bring this all together. So something we've been doing a lot with customers is thinking about how you can create your own digital office leveraging Teams. So with the platform, you can obviously go ahead and enable third-party and Microsoft applications for your users, as well as custom applications, which we're going to spend a little bit of time on right after this. But you can not only allow access to those applications, but you can even take actions on behalf of your users to pre-install and even pin those applications so that all the tools that people need as they're working through their day are really just available to them exactly when they need them. We provide you with some admin controls that are very granular. So on a per user basis, even you can define who should have access to what, who you want to install applications on behalf of, even who you want to pin applications on behalf of in the Teams experience. In Chris's demo on his mobile device, you probably noticed on the bottom portion of the screen how the icons that Chris sees may look different to what you see when you launch the Teams mobile application. And that is something that is admin controlled that you can define on behalf of your users so that they get the customized bespoke experience that makes sense for them. It's definitely worth an exercise to think about how your people work and what do they need, and then align that to the capabilities that we provide so you can create that customized, personalized experience for your users. Now, the Teams platform itself, let's talk about, when you want to build experiences on top of it, or where you may already have applications that you've invested in building for your organization, how can you consider exposing them and extending them into Teams? So a couple of things to note. First, we provide you with a really rich canvas. So all of the collaboration functionality that Teams provides out of the box, right, you can take advantage of with your app alongside your application. We actually have a universal design system called Fluent UI, and if you're not familiar with it, we'll send some information after this for those that are interested that you can take advantage of. Most of the M365 and Microsoft applications, including Teams that you use, are built using Fluent, and this is something that we've made available to customers and partners as well, so that you can implement that as you're designing experiences for your employees and your customers as well. Aside from the universal design system, we also offer a number of extensibility points, and I'm going to go deeply into these in just a moment. But think of these as UX extensibility points that you can leverage as you're building experiences directly in Teams. And these include everything from tab applications, right, that are really rich canvases that leverage a lot of the Teams real estate for people to interact with, all the way to applications that you can use directly in meetings. In our last session, we asked participants to answer a poll in the meeting, and polling is a great example of how you can take an application and add it into Teams. We provide native poll functionality in meetings, but we also support third-party applications and even custom experiences directly into the meeting landscape. So if you use tools like Mural or Miro or Poly, you can actually add those into the Teams meeting experience and allow people to interact with them. A little bit more on that in just a second. From a developer and backend perspective, think of Teams as the body, right? I give you a UI UX that you can use, and the brains is really wherever you choose to host your experience. So those backend services can be wherever it is that you like. You can use Fluent Design Framework or design framework that you feel comfortable with. And we support as well citizen-led developer initiatives through Power Platform or other citizen-led developer platforms that you might like. But we make it really easy for you to create experiences for your users in Teams. Along with this, and I'm going to show you this in just a minute, we also provide a Teams toolkit. So if you're using Visual Studio Code, you can actually go ahead and leverage the Teams toolkit. If you use Figma, we actually have a whole Figma kit that we've published. Lots of great information and resources that are available to app developers to be able to create these great experiences in Teams. From a platform capability perspective, I just want to talk a little bit about all the puzzle pieces that we provide to our customers and partners to be able to build on top of the Teams experience. So a little bit about these extensibility points. Personal apps in Teams. A great example of a personal app in Teams is actually Viva Connections, what Chris was showing you before. These are typically pinned to a user's left rail in the Teams client. On the mobile device, you'll see them on the bottom portion of the screen. And these are application interactions that an individual can have directly from within Teams. They don't require you to be in a collaborative experience like a chat or a channel chat or a meeting. It's a place where you can go to individually interact with applications right from within Teams. We build on that with a card framework like adaptive cards. Again, Chris showed you a great example of this through Viva Connections, which leverages the adaptive card framework to surface each of the tiles that you saw in his dashboard. But that's an extensibility point that our customers and partners can choose to leverage as they're building experiences for their users and teams. I talked a bit about meeting extensions and meeting applications before, but we've opened the meeting landscape up to you to be able to add in the tools and workflow that's important to whatever it is that you're meeting about directly within the meeting stage. This is super interesting because it's not only about sharing information like this, the way I'm presenting this deck here, but you can also build experiences that allow meeting participants to co-create on content that they're interacting with directly from within the meeting stage. So your meeting participants don't need to keep additional tools and browsers open and multitask while they should be concentrating on a meeting. You can add and build apps specifically for chats and channels. These are similar to personal apps in the way that they're designed. They take up the large portion of the screen. We call them tab-based applications. And for those that are familiar with developing apps, it's very similar to iframing an experience directly within Teams. Chris did a great example of showing you bots in Teams. Bots are awesome. And when folks tend to start on the platform journey with us, bots are a very popular first step where you can create interactions that users can have using natural language processing directly in Teams and self-service help. Bots are not only for users to be able to ask questions and get answers, but you can use bots to do things like notify a user or a group of users of information that's important to them. You can centralize and consolidate where a user has to go, not only to get to the people that are important to them, but to the tools and even the notifications from those tools as well. Another extensibility point that I just wanted to touch on really quickly is message extensions. And I just would encourage everybody to take a look at chat in Teams. And if you look at the little chat box where you can compose a message in Teams, underneath it, you'll notice lots of little icons. This is another extensibility point. And so we have lots of partners and customers who have built experiences that allow users to interact with their application, search and retrieve or create information that will be written back to that system, and then include that information directly in the conversations that they're having in Teams. It's a really powerful extensibility point that allows you to have your users interact with the tools that are important to them in the flow of their work. Just to round us out here on a couple of other important things that I think you guys should know about when it comes to leveraging Teams platform. The activity feed is really popular. And not only the activity feed can we let users know about things that are happening in Teams where they've chosen to be notified, but we can also notify users of activity that's happening in the applications that have been added directly into Teams. And so, as I said just before, you can consolidate where a user has to go in order to get to the people and the content and the updates that are most important to them in order to get their jobs done. Another really great extensibility point, and I'll leave this here, is message actions. So anywhere in Teams, can I not only react to a message, like give it a thumbs up or a heart or the broader set of reactions that we recently enabled, but you'll notice there are 3 ellipses next to most of those, next to the message reactions. And when you click on those, that's another extensibility point where you can actually create customized actions that you can allow your users to take with conversations that are happening in Teams. So a great example of this would be maybe there's a message that somebody sent me that ultimately needs to be turned into a reminder or a task or workflow that I need to be responsible for because it's something that we need to do in order to get our work done. I can go ahead and actually click on a three ellipses and create a little Power Automate that takes action on that message. I can even do things like create a work item in other systems like Azure DevOps or Trello or Jira if that was important to me. And you can also create your own bespoke experiences for message actions for common workflow that your users might want to or need to take directly within Teams. Super powerful, right? Because we're really giving you the opportunity to build your DNA directly into a singular UI. The other nice thing about building experiences into Teams is that these are responsive by nature. And so where lots of customers and partners really struggled with having to maintain multiple bespoke experiences like mobile and web and a thick client, you can now build once and have it be responsive in nature everywhere. Super, super powerful. There's a couple of resources I just want to make sure that everybody has awareness to, in addition to the help that Brianna will talk a little bit about following this meeting. But we have a really rich set of developer platform documentation that we've put out, and I'll include the link in the chat here if anybody wants to take a peek at it. And we talk about the full life cycle of building and enabling apps in Teams for your users, both from a developer perspective and also from an admin and end user perspective when we think of governance and the wrapper, right? This sort of security and compliance wrapper that we know is very important to our organizations to be able to control and evaluate as they think of leveraging applications and integrations in Teams. So I want to leave you with that documentation because there's tons of really great practical information there. And then for those that are developers and or that like to hack things by nature, we actually launched a hands-on what we call Teams App Camp, where you can learn all about building apps for Teams and even get access to free hands-on labs where you can go ahead and start to build some of these experiences very quickly and easily. And it's a great set of resources that we would encourage you to take a peek at and think about what are the scenarios that you have that exist in your organization and how might you be able to leverage the platform capabilities that you all have access to today in order to transform your employee experience and potentially even your customer experience as well too. Okay, with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Matthew, who's going to take us through the last portion here, and I'll answer any questions that that have come up in the chat, and we'll also spend some time after this too doing that. Thanks, Matthew.
Awesome, thank you. So I think there's already some questions on the side about, okay, great, how do we actually take a lot of this great power that comes with Teams platform and enable it for frontline workers that are typically using shared devices? And so I want to be diving into how Microsoft is trying to set up customers like yourself up for success for retail customers on shared mobile devices like your Zebras and Honeywells. So I have some prepared content that I'm going to dive into. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll learn more about shared devices. Okay. So hopefully the picture on the right looks familiar to those of you that have shared devices deployed today. So this is an example of one of our customers that use Honeywell devices. I mentioned Zebra. You might even be using iOS devices in your scenarios. And the challenge that a lot of customers face is a lot of the goodness that was shared, and as kind of mentioned in the chat, require a single user identity for these frontline workers so that you can have the chat to the right people, so that you can connect with the right folks and have tasks assigned to you. And what that means is people have to sign in and sign out of devices, and that can be quite challenging, right? You have to make sure that the initial sign in is easy, and when they're done, they need to be able to sign out of all the apps that they're using so that the device can be securely used by the next person without fear of any data being mixed up between the two different users. And so to help with this scenario, to make it super easy to sign in and sign out, what Microsoft built was something called shared device mode. This is a feature inside of Azure Active Directory that we use within our applications and applications that choose to use Microsoft Authentication Library to enable that easy sign in and sign out experience. So instead of having to sign in into multiple applications, you sign in once and then you get automatic access into all of your applications. And then similarly with sign out, you sign out once and then you automatically are signed out of all of your applications so that you can feel confident giving that device to that next person. And the last column I have here, robust conditional access. This is important because a lot of conditional access policies today, and this is what allows you to limit who has access to which apps on which compliant devices, makes the assumption that a device is always assigned to a single person, a single identity. And with shared device mode, we actually break that out a little bit more and say the device can belong to multiple people. And so you can now write conditional access policies targeted at these shared devices so that you can make sure that your company resources and data still stay protected. So that's shared device mode. What I now want to show you is we actually have shared device mode GA today on Microsoft Teams. So all that great Teams platform stuff already supports shared device mode. And Manage Home Screen, which is a app launcher for Android provided by Microsoft Intune. So I want to go ahead and play this demo to show you the power of shared device mode, and then we'll dive into some of the timelines for the other applications that you're likely interested in using on your shared devices. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and I'll annotate, I'll provide some commentary as we watch it. So we're starting in Manage Home Screen. You don't have to use Manage Home Screen with shared device mode, but I think it really does a great job of showing how you can have this unified sign-in experience at the front where the user sees a single sign-in prompt where they put in their username and password only once. Now, Manage Home Screen has this nice little ability to have a PIN code. Again, this is not necessary for shared device mode. And now that we're, pause real quick, now that we're on the actual home screen, we can see all the different applications that have been pre-pinned by the administrator. The frontline worker now needs to click into these apps and be able to start using them. And the beauty, the power of shared device mode is that when you open up either of these applications, you're going to see a lot of loading screens that we're going to finesse and fine tune over time. But what you're not seeing is the user having to push any buttons, put in their username, type in a password. All of that automatically happens for the user so that in this case, they can access Teams chat and the rest of Teams platform. And then if you use other Microsoft applications, like in this case, Microsoft Outlook, if it's integrated with shared device mode, it too will automatically sign in that user so that in this case, they have access to their calendar and corporate email. Now, the last thing I want to call out is the sign out experience. So in this particular demo, the person goes back to Manage Home Screen and they click on that sign out button inside of the app. And when that happens, a broadcast signal goes to all the other applications and tells them as soon as you can sign out. That might be when the next person picks up the device, but it ensures that all that data is encrypted at rest and people can't access it. And as soon as that app comes back to the foreground, that data gets cleared. Now we see the sign out button here, but we've also made easier knowing just how important sign out is on shared devices. Easier to access that sign in button from apps like Outlook. It's now front and center, and even inside Microsoft Teams, where we even made it bright and red. So this is shared device mode in a nutshell, running on the Microsoft Teams application, Manage Home Screen, and you even saw the preview application, Microsoft Outlook. Now, many of you are probably thinking to yourself, well, Matthew, I don't use Intune. What we found from a lot of our retail customers is many of them are actually using mobile device management providers, or MDMs for short, like VMware and SOTI. And one of the challenges that we've had is customers that use those third-party MDMs were not able to take advantage of shared device mode. Well, all that's about to change. So both VMware and SOTI have publicly committed to shared device mode. VMware will be public previewing later this month. So if you're a VMware customer, get excited for that. And then SOTI, they have started some private previews. So if that's something that you're interested in, reach out to your SOTI account reps. And they plan on GAing their solution in September. So if you use one of these MDMs, we do care about you. We do love you, and we've been working very hard with these MDMs to make sure that they support shared device mode. Now, the next question that you might have is, okay, great, you have Teams, which we've learned a lot of great goodness about Microsoft Teams. But what about the other apps? What about Edge for my web-based line of business apps? What about Yammer for my communities, Outlook for my corporate emails, or Power Apps for my line of business apps? Many of these you can actually embed in Teams, and I would encourage you to do so you can have that unified experience. But we know things come in phases, and you might want to have some of these applications running independently for a while. Well, the good news, as you can see on this slide, is most of these applications, these four right here, these core applications that most customers need, are in public preview, and we're targeting general availability of these applications at the end of April. So very, very soon. What I tell folks is start with the public preview, and by the time you've kind of seen it work end to end with your deployment infrastructure, will be GA. And then the last thing I'll end with while we're talking about Android is we have heard the need for other applications. So top of mind for other customers are Power BI, so reporting for your frontline workers, and the Office suite, so your Word, PowerPoint, Excel, OneDrive, and SharePoint. We're working on these particular features. We have most line of sight for Office. What we are doing to expedite the timeline for customers like you is we are pouring all of our resources into the unified Microsoft 365 application, and that will be in a private preview state around summertime. And what that will allow customers like yourself to do is satisfy all of those Office scenarios like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, OneDrive, etc. inside of that application with shared device mode. Okay, great. So that's Android. Let's go ahead and look at iOS. So not as prevalent in retail, but we do know that many retail customers like having iOS, especially for those customer-facing scenarios. And what I would say with iOS is it's like a quarter or two following in the footsteps of Android. So Teams is currently in the public preview today. We haven't made too much noise about it because we're waiting for the rest of the portfolio to come. And what I'll share kind of vaguely right now is it's coming soon. Hopefully by summertime you'll have something public that you can play around with all these core applications. Okay. And I think that's all I have to share for today. What we're also working on at Microsoft is making it even easier for that initial sign-in. We've done a lot of work to make sure that you only have to sign in once, but we know how painful that first sign-in experience can be for retail scenarios. And so we are investigating things like QR scanning for that authentication experience. We call that QR plus PIN. Scan a QR code, provide a PIN number. We're also working with Nuance, which is a company that we acquired. They do a lot of voice technology, and they have a voice biometric solution. So we're investigating that. And then we're also just looking at the broader market to see if there's partners that can help customers like yourselves improve that initial sign-in experience so that you can make sure that your frontline workers have an identity so that they can be empowered to use the entire Teams platform. Alrighty. And I'll take a quick look at the question since I have some extra time, and then I'll pass it back. Is there a feature that will log out if left idle for a certain amount of time? This is something that we lean on our MDMs to provide. So in the manage home screen experience that I showed you, that's how Intune handles it. There's some settings that you can configure to do auto logouts if there's inactivity. Our friends in VMware have similar features that allow you to auto logout, and through their integration with shared device mode will auto logout of Microsoft apps. Dennis asked, can you use the PIN code instead of a password like Windows Hello for Business? That's the goal with QR plus PIN, having an easier way for frontline workers to not have to type out a long password, just a 4 or 6 digit PIN. So that is something that we're aware of and wanting to work on. And then Dwayne asks, lastly, how about Teams Viva on shared devices? A lot of these Viva applications that run inside of Microsoft Teams, or you might even open it inside of Edge. Basically, if you run anything inside of the Teams platform, it gets shared device mode. It works. Same with Edge. If you have a web app and you run inside of Edge, you're golden. You're good. It uses shared device mode. If you have a native application, like let's say you've built a custom native app that uses Microsoft's authentication library for your frontline workers, and you want to make sure that it too has shared device mode. We have public documentation. I didn't include it in my slideware, but we do have public docs that walk you through how to add shared device mode to your own application. We have seen quite a bit of success from customers adding it. It's less painful than you might be imagining. Awesome. Well, thank you for the questions, and hopefully this helped kind of clarify how you can bring those user identities to your retail employees. Awesome.
Thanks so much, Matthew.